right, don't say I didn't warn you, but get ready to fire up your Amazon accounts, because what I'm going to do in this special edition is show you some of my absolute favorite tools. And I know what you're thinking. This is Schrodinger's box, so these are going to be really heavy diagnostic oriented tools for electrical and computer diagnostics that we do on the channel. No, actually, we're going to scale it way back. These are going to be tools that even your weekend grease monkey would be interested in using for the most part. So while we will have a few diagnostic things, it won't be anything to the caliber that we typically do for do-it-yourself diagnostics on this channel. And also, I'm going to ask a favor of you, if you don't mind, and that is, when you see one of the tools that I show you that you just cannot live without and you pause the video to go over to Amazon to buy it, do me a favor and just put in the comments which tool or tools that was, because I got a feeling there's going to be a lot of them. Now, real quick note, I am not compensated for any of the tools I'm about to show you. This has nothing to do with promoting tools in any way for commercial purpose. These are all personal tools that I have bought myself just simply because I really like them and I'm just showing them to you. So in no way whatsoever is this a promotional video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at some of my favorite tools, which I know I cannot live without, and you will quickly see you won't be able to either, even if you don't have them. So let's start off with this one. All right, first up is the ALLTURN 100 watt plastic welder kit. And this, I cannot even count the number of times that I have used this. If you're still using JB Weld to fix plastic or Gorilla Glue or whatever, well, this is going to dramatically change that. I can't even remember the last time I've used JB Weld. But the kit comes with, it's technically actually more of a plastic staple kit than it is a welder, although you kind of, to some extent, can do some welding with it. So the kit comes with a number of these staples. My favorite are these kind of wavy ones because they cover a lot of surface area, like that right there. There's also other ones that are kind of bent in a way that if you have a 90-degree angle, these would be particularly useful. We've got some regular flat staples. And the way this works is it's essentially a heating element here. You'll insert your staple into the heating gun, and then you'll just touch the staple. You'll see it starts to get really, really hot, like that. And you'll just touch that to your plastic where you want to do the weld. And actually, we can demonstrate this. After you do that, you can use this special tool here to kind of smear the plastic around and create a little more of a cosmetic finish to it. Comes with a really good pair of diagonal cutters so that you can clip off the little ends that remain behind. We'll show you that in a second. And also it's got some of these little plastic strips that you can use along with your finishing tool to kind of weld in any gaps or anything like that. I actually have a little repair to do on a toolbox with this tool. We'll show you how this works. All right, here's a perfect application. We can see my hinge broke from the lid on this toolbox here. And of course, little super glue or JB Weld is what typically you would do. Well, this is going to work 100 times better than that. So all you do is just heat up your element here, melt it into the plastic a bit. I like to let go of the trigger and twist it just so it twists into some good solid plastic there. Now, I don't have a whole lot of patience, so I just blast it with a little brake cleaner to instantly cool it down. Yank the tool off, you see that your little clip remains in the plastic and it holds now, so the plastic is essentially welded. We can now take the diagonal cutters, and if you really want to finish this off nice, you can also, of course, use like a Dremel tool or something to smooth that. Now what I'm going to do is just kind of fill in the gap that was remaining around the staple with a little bit of this plastic here. Just kind of smooth that over a bit. Just smooth that out to a nice finish. If I wanted, I could, of course, sand that down if it was something like a bumper or something, which I've done many with this tool. Undercar splash shields, plastic engine covers, anything like that, man, I have used this so many times on those things I can't even count. And if we look here, we've got a strong repair there that won't break. And that is that. You can actually also buy individual sets of clips if you need extra ones. I actually have already had to do that. All right, there's several companies that make this type of tool. This particular one is the ALLTURN, but you can look and see if you want to shop for some with more or less features. All right, speaking of heating, this is an inductive magnetic heating device. This would be used as a total lifesaver, as it has been for me many times, when you have a rusted bolt or screw or something like that, particularly like an exhaust bolt that is rusted on so much that it's going to break or it rounds off in strips. And essentially this replaces a heating torch. There's a lot of different models of these that you can find. This particular model is the EVE FH1000 rusty screw removal device. This comes with all kinds of heating element adapters, which we'll demonstrate here. You just insert your heating element into the tool like that, secure it down, plug it in and push the red button and hold it down to activate it. And you'll just put this loop around the bolt head and just hold the button down and heat it up like a torch. And within usually 15 seconds or so, it's more than hot enough to loosen up. It's got all kinds of different adapters here for your different size bolt heads, these different heating element sizes. Also comes with a couple of customizable heating elements that you can take and you can loop around something. If you're not able to get this loop around something, you can make a loop. That would be useful for something like a tie rod end, for example, that you can just loop this around the tie rod end that you're not able to get a loop around because you would have to remove it first. All right, also really nice, obviously, if you're trying to heat up something that's next to a wiring harness or the fuel tank or something. Really don't want to be using the torch on that. This is a much safer alternative. All right, let me get a bolt. Put this bolt in here. Now, one thing about this, the material that you are attempting to heat up must be magnetic. If it is not magnetic, then this is not going to work. All right, we can see this bolt is a little bit bigger than what I wanted, so we're going to swap out for a little bit bigger adapter. That looks pretty good. This just creates a magnetic field that goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth very rapidly, vibrating the metal. You can already see it starting to smoke. And the vibration of the metal causes heat. And if we give this just a little bit here, you'll see this will actually turn red after a while. All right, let's see if this will show up in the camera here, but I can tell you it's turning orange. Maybe give this a little bit more just for the camera. Oh yeah, you can definitely see that that bolt is turning bright orange like that. That's all it takes right there. All right, that is the EVE FH1000 inductive magnetic bolt heater. All right, you guys have actually seen this in several videos, but it's not what I'm going to show you. It's what you're already familiar with. This is a bunch of oil pressure testing adapters and components. So I've got a couple of gauges in here, a couple of hoses, and a whole bunch of adapters here. Some of you guys probably have something like this to measure oil pressure, and the idea is, of course, to go through the oil pressure sending unit. The problem is, on a lot of cars, that sending unit can be extremely difficult to access, and you almost have to take the whole engine apart just to access it, at which point you can no longer run the engine. Well, the trick with this, the GearWrench oil pressure check kit, GearWrench part number 3289, is that this oil pressure test kit goes right in place of the oil filter. You just connect it right in place of the oil filter, so it's super easy to access. This is a total game changer. It has a bunch of adapters to work on most vehicles, not all vehicles, which is why I still have this kit here. But on vehicles where this works, you just simply screw the adapter right on where the oil filter would go on. Screw on your component with the gasket in place so it doesn't leak. It's got a couple of different gaskets here. And then once you've got it all screwed in, the gauge just quick connects right on to the base here, and you measure your oil pressure right through the oil filter port. Really, really handy and very, very time saving. All right, this drawer is where I keep a lot of stuff for European cars, which I really hate doing. Things like your Volkswagens, your Audis, your Volvos, stuff like that, where they use a lot of different fastener heads, and you need all kinds of special tools, a lot of times from a place called Ossenmacher, and they're really expensive. But also in this drawer, I particularly want to focus on a couple things. So this here is a low profile socket set. You can see it's about a third less height or so than a standard socket is, and that means it is awesome for really, really tight spaces. I use these all the time in conjunction with a low profile ratchet. So with that combination there, you can often remove bolts that typically you would find yourself backed up against a firewall or another component, and prevents you from having to take things apart in order to get to the bolts a little easier. So really good time saver here. All right, manufacturer on these is Astro. Obviously, there's a lot of tool manufacturers that are probably better, but a lot more expensive. I know you can get Snap-ons and whatever if you really want to go high end. For do-it-yourselfer like me, this is more than sufficient. Definitely, it has got me out of a lot of jams. And then also, equally as useful are these. These are wobbly sockets here. This, of course, replaces what you guys are probably used to, as I've used for years, and that is your swivel universal joint. And the thing with these, of course, is you get it too tight of an angle and it always wants to roll off the head of the bolt. These do not do that. These hold very much in place. Once you get a set of these, you really, really can't live without it. Okay, if you have watched this channel for any length of time, you know that I have this ACDelco battery operated 3/8 drive ratchet, which I've had for at least a couple years. Really, really like it, but buying this was a mistake. And I do not want you to repeat the same mistake that I made. No, it's not because it's an ACDelco 3/8 drive battery operated ratchet. It's because I didn't buy the long neck version like this. So I decided I want another one of these as well, the ACDelco 3/8 drive battery operated ratchet. And I decided to go with the long neck version. I will tell you, if you get the long neck version, you will never use your standard version, because the long neck version allows way easier accessibility. Also, of course, applies more torque. I suggest if you do get one of these, get the best one that you can buy, because one of the things with these particular models is you really don't want to put too much torque on them to tighten or loosen something, because they're really not as durable as, say, a Milwaukee or a Snap-on or something like that. So typically what I do is I use a standard ratchet to break something loose if it's more than, say, 50 foot-pounds or so, and then finish it off with this tool. But it's pretty easy to strip the heads in these things if you over-torque them, if you don't have a really, really high-quality tool. All right, in my brake service drawer here, I have this gizmo. That is the rust removal tool. I'm not even sure what the brand is. It just says stud rust removal tool. And what I've done is fitted an adapter on here that it will actually fit right onto my impact gun. And this DeWalt 3/8 impact, by the way, easily one of the best tools I have ever owned. You guys have seen this on the channel almost since its inception. What you do is you just simply snap that onto your impact there, and it'll act like a drill. You can, of course, use a drill instead. I just have my impact out anyway, so this seemed to be the most logical setup for me. And what you do is when you remove the rotor from the vehicle and you need to scrape off all that rust and scale and everything from the hub, you just simply fit this right over each stud, each wheel stud, spin it around, and it removes in just a second all the rust and scale off of that wheel hub so the rotor sits perfectly flush. I want to say this thing costs like 20 bucks or something like that. All right, this right here is my bad day drawer. So this is what happens when I've got a rusted or broken off bolt or something like that, where it's rounded off or the head breaks off or whatever. And this will be all my left-hand thread drill bits, my chisels, my bolt outs. Of course, most of you guys already have something like this. If you don't, you need one. A stripped bolt head removal set like this. I've got several of them. These are amazing. Good grief, they've gotten me out of jams more times than I can count. But what you may not be aware of is this stripped bolt tool set here. And this set is for if you strip out a Allen bolt or even a screw head. So we can probably demonstrate this right here. So if we look at this valley cover on this engine, there's these Allen bolts in here that very, very, very typically strip out really easily. And if you just take the tool here and match up the right one, that one's too small. Just like a bolt out extractor, there we go. Set that in there, maybe tap it a couple taps with a hammer, and that will grip in there as tight as can be. Just use a wrench or a socket and you'll be able to draw that out. All right, this kit is by, what does that say? XEWEA, I don't know. It's obviously this one is Chinese, but once again, there's a lot of manufacturers that will make something like this. I can tell you this one works absolutely amazing. It really, really bites in deep. And I guess XWEA, maybe it's XWEA. Whatever the case, you need a set of these. All right, this next drawer in itself is a plethora of things that I just cannot live without, because I really like to focus my time more on the diagnostics than on any kind of wrenching and bolt spinning and stuff like that. So anything I can do to make things easier in that regard with doing the mechanical stuff, I am all about it. And this drawer is full of stuff like that. One of the things cannot live without, this is a long reach radiator hose clamp set. So you just simply put the jaws, you reach them anywhere in the engine, and when you pull the handles here, it draws closed and it will open that clamp up for you. It even locks in position like that. These other tools here are also for radiator hose clamps. These just go right over the hose clamp. Let's see if we can find one. All right, well, I don't have a band compression clamp, but we do have these screw clamps on here that I'm going to show you another thing that's pretty useful for. Let me go ahead and get one of these clamps here like this, and you just put the tool, it just fits right over. This is never, ever, ever going to slip off, so no more of your pliers slipping off anymore, and you can just open those up. There's also some ratcheting ones available that will hold the clamp open for you as well. But once you get a set of these, and I've got these in various angles and lengths and things, just makes really short work of trying to get those clamps off. For something like this, however, my typical go-to is this flexible nut driver like this, because typically these are underneath there and you can't get your socket in there with the extension because the battery's in the way and everything. But wherever it's located, you can usually pretty easily reach it with this tool here and unscrew it. And again, without having to remove a bunch of components around otherwise, this will reach into some really crazy areas pretty easily. And then once you get your hose clamp loosened up, you need one of these guys here. What this is a little pry tool that just pops the hoses right off, super easy like that. Now, if you don't have something to use as a fulcrum, what you're supposed to be able to do is, if this is just a metal tube like that, I believe, I think it's marked somewhere, but I believe it's the silver one here. No, and this one, it's the black one. So the black side of it has a sharp groove that will bite in a little bit to the metal, or the plastic in this case, so that if you don't have a fulcrum to push against, it'll just bite on there and push it off just by gripping onto the tube like that. Another thing that can be really useful if these don't work is a set of hose pliers. I've got all kinds of different sizes of these that you can get on there. Break it loose like that. And then once you loosen it, that other tool may come in handy. Also, various hose picks can be really useful. I really like this reversed bend one here. You can just reach in there without having to be at an uncomfortable angle and just work in there like that. But probably my favorite tool in that drawer, and you wouldn't think that this is something you need, but man, once you get this, you cannot live without it. And that is these special pliers right here. Now, these aren't for hose removal. What these are for is for very simply and easily removing these connectors. On older vehicles, these connectors can become brittle and the tabs break, or you push them down and you just still cannot get the connectors to separate. This tool looks like something that you would get and it would just sit in your tool drawer. I use this tool almost every time I'm doing any kind of a disassembly. So the first thing I'm going to do is use this tool this way. We're going to move that red clip just like that easy. Then we're going to position the tool this way so that the teeth grip on the underside of the connector like that. The little tab here now pushes down right there, makes it super easy to disconnect. And the nice thing about it, it keeps you from breaking the tabs in there. This tool is a LISLE, it doesn't say on it, but it is a connector removal tool from LISLE. I'm lazy, I'm not going to put these things in the description. All right, we're going to get near the end of this. Maybe I'll show you a couple more things. And if you like this video, let me know and we'll maybe do another one. But we all know these guys here, right? The channel locks, right? We all know the issue with these, right? You set your slip point here and you go to grab something with them, and what happens with this handle? It just slides right along and you end up pinching your fingers, right? Well, I don't know what you're talking about because that doesn't happen to me anymore. Because I have basically switched out all of my channel lock style pliers to these Knipex brand. And what the Knipex brand does is has this little locking mechanism here that it will not slide unless you push the mechanism, and it will hold its position like that. And these grip like a bulldog. These are the best pliers by far. I actually have several sizes of these, everything from a set of like ignition pliers all the way up to these beasties right here. And if this doesn't grip in and remove something, then maybe what you need to do is use that heating element to help heat up things and loosen them. But Knipex, K-N-I-P-E-X. A couple other of my Knipex collection with the angled needle nose, angled diagonal cutters. Super, super handy. And this is a complete set of magnetic spark plug sockets. I am over it. I am done with the stupid standard spark plug sockets with the rubber insulator in there that every time you remove the stupid socket, the rubber insulator stays on the spark plug. And of course, you don't realize it until you can't get the spark plug boot to click on. And then you can't remove the stupid rubber thing without removing the spark plug again and reinserting it. I'm done with that. I don't even use these anymore. Magnetic spark plug socket, it just holds with a good strong magnetic force, but not enough that your spark plug socket disengage from your extension. So it's just perfectly measured where when you need to remove your socket off of the spark plug, you will be able to remove it without this coming disconnected. Even if it did come disconnected, if you've watched elsewhere in my channel, we can just do this, take a little piece of towel, put it in there, and now it really won't come out ever. Wow, that is, all right, there we go. So magnetic spark plug socket set, let's see, these are I don't know, it doesn't have a brand on it. But I really like these ones with the built-in swivel like I demonstrated earlier. Again, it's a lot more reliable than using that universal joint. Also lower profile, having the swivel built in to this or to the other socket set that I showed you makes it a lower profile in conjunction with your U-joint. And then I've also got a bunch of the straight ones as well. All right, well, that was a lot of fun, except for one problem. My hands are dirty now. So what am I going to do about that? Well, this is what I use. These are crocodile cloths. This is the automotive one as opposed to the shop one, I think the other one is. And if you look, it's kind of like baby wipes on crack. But if we take one of these out, it's strong and it has a lot of stretch to it. And if you notice, one other nice thing about it is it actually does a really amazing job of cleaning. It's almost like using that lava soap or something, but it's not abrasive or anything. It's just the cloth has a really good texture to it, along with the degreaser solution on there. That's awesome. Look at that. And it actually in no way whatsoever feels abrasive or rough or anything like that. And it's also really good for cleaning off your tools as well. So again, that's the crocodile cloth. I got the 100 pack. It also comes, I think, in a 50 pack as well. All right, that concludes this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. And again, a reminder, if you bought any tools during the video or you plan on doing it right after, do me a favor, let me know in the comments what you got. If you like this video, also thumbs up, let me know, and maybe we'll do some more of these. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you found this helpful. We'll see you next time.